Time for the awards coming out of Week 8. Michael David Smith joins us. Let's get right to it. MDS, Offensive Player of the Week. Who you got?
Travis Fulgham, the Eagles' offense did not look good against a bad Cowboys defense, except when they were throwing the ball to Travis Fulgham. And he's been amazing. He was cut by 3 different teams in the month before the start of the regular season. Didn't even get on the active roster until week 4. Since week 4, he's the NFL leader in receiving yards. He has been a remarkable story, and I was extremely impressed with how he played in the context of how badly the rest of that offense was playing on Sunday night.
MDS, my pick did not come out of nowhere. His name is Patrick Mahomes, and I know it was just against the Jets, but still, it was 416 yards, 5 touchdowns. By the end of the game, he's standing over on the sideline, and in case anyone had forgotten about Patrick Mahomes in the MVP conversation, he put his name right back in that conversation. He's second to Russell Wilson in touchdowns and passer rating. And you know what? He's only thrown 1 interception this year. Put his name in MVP conversation.
Yeah, he's got 21-1 in 8 games, excuse me. Russell Wilson has 26-6 in 7 games. He's on pace for more touchdowns. He means more to his team, I think, than Patrick Mahomes because Wilson doesn't have the supporting cast. I think it may come down to those two, and one of the big factors may be which team gets the number 1 seed if one of the two ultimately does. For me, it's Dalvin Cook for all reasons that I just expressed in the last segment of the program. 4 touchdowns, first time a Vikings player has done it in 41 years. Cook, one of the best running backs in the NFL, needs to stay healthy. He could actually pull the Vikings back into the race for the 7th seed or the 8th seed if there is one, if he can stay healthy for the balance of the season. MDS, Defensive Player of the Week time. Who you got?
I got Darius Leonard, who returned to the Colts lineup and made a big difference. When he is in there, the Colts defense is as good as any defense in the league. The Lions, they just could not run the ball with Darius Leonard in the game. I think Adrian Peterson and DeAndre Swift combined average like 1 yard per carry in the game. Darius Leonard is a really special player. I think he's as good an inside linebacker as there is in the NFL right now.
MDS, I picked the Miami defense, and I think you could have picked any of those 11 players, but I'm going with Eric Rowe. I just thought he had an outstanding game for the Dolphins. You know, that defense forced 4 turnovers. They scored on 1. They set up TD drives of 33 and 1 yards. I mean, they were just the difference in that game with the way Tua was playing. He had 7 tackles, an interception, and 5 pass breakups. Eric Rowe and that entire Dolphins defense was just outstanding on Sunday.
I noticed before the Steelers-Ravens game on Sunday, Mark Caboli of The Athletic, previously the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, tweeted that he thinks Stephon Tuitt's going to have a big game for the Steelers. And he did. 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits. He was all over Lamar Jackson. There was one play where he just got a push up the middle. It's almost like there was no one blocking him. He got into the backfield so quickly. It was Aaron Donald type stuff. And it was an amazing performance, part of an amazing defense that I think is going to have a Defensive Player of the Week each and every week as we proceed through the season. All right, Rookie of the Week time, MDS.
I went with J.K. Dobbins, even though he did it in a losing effort for the Ravens, because he had such an outstanding game, particularly when you look at what that Steelers defense had been doing to running backs all season. They had stopped all running backs on about 25% of all carries they faced this season. They had stopped about 25% of the time the running back for no gain. J.K. Dobbins was never held to less than 2 yards on any carry, averaged 7.5 yards a carry, just had a terrific game, even in a losing effort against the Steelers.
MDS, I am going with Zach Moss, the Bills running back. Got to throw some love to the Bills for their victory over the Patriots. They had 190 rushing yards, and he was a big part of that. He had 14 carries, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the victory over the Patriots. Just a great job with Devin Singletary running the ball, and Josh Allen had some big runs too. But those guys just made it so easy on Josh Allen in the passing game because of the way they ran the football.
Yeah, that was one of the struggles of the Bills. And back to Dobbins, Mark Ingram had to look at that performance on Sunday by the Ravens and realize he's not going to be on that team next year. He's got a $5 million salary. Unless he takes a huge pay cut and maybe they'll offer him one, they're just at the point where it's time to cycle through to the younger guys because the younger guys get it done, and J.K. Dobbins clearly got it done. For me, look, I think I need to name the Rookie of the Week, the Joe Burrow Memorial Rookie of the Week award, even though he's obviously alive. But because I would pick him every week, and I'm going to try to consciously not pick him. I want to spread it around a little bit. I'm going to go with Trayvon Diggs, the Cowboys' rookie defensive back. He had a rough start to the season, had a rough start to the game against the Eagles, but he finished with 2 interceptions. And yes, they lost, but it's to the extent that there are very, very few bright spots on that Cowboys roster, Charean, as you well know. Trayvon Diggs was one of them on Sunday night. So he has that going for him. I'm sure they'd rather win the game, but at least they got something out of Week 8. All right, Coach of the Week, MDS, who you got?
Well, I got Raheem Morris, and it comes down to, for me, what Bill Parcells said: you are what your record says you are. The Falcons were 0-5 with Dan Quinn, and now they're 2-1 with Raheem Morris, including Thursday's win over the Panthers. I think Morris is making a strong case that he deserves to be the Falcons head coach on a permanent basis. That decision won't be made anytime soon, but they gave him a long portion of the season, the last 11 games, to prove himself. I think the Falcons dug too big a hole for themselves to realistically get into playoff contention. But I think if Morris can get them close to 500, I think they ought to give him the job on a full-time basis.
MDS, I'm going with another Chief. And yes, I know they just played the Jets. I understand the Jets may not even qualify as a NFL team, much less a good NFL team. But Andy Reid joined Curly Lambeau in all-time 5th place, tied for 5th place, all-time wins, including the postseason. And it has just been outstanding as a head coach. 229 wins all-time now, including the postseason. And it's just been great at everything. Sometimes we take him for granted for how good he's been as a head coach.
For me, it's and I'm going to stick with the Vikings game. It's got to be Mike Zimmer. Dalvin Cook told me after the game, Zimmer's been very, very hard on them lately for blowing leads. Cook said he responds to that well. Obviously, he did. Zimmer was flexible on defense, used a lot of cover two, as we mentioned earlier, to try to confuse the Green Bay Packers. And also, something Cook told me, and this is more Zimmer's staff, but Zimmer's in charge of the staff. He empowers the guys to do this. Cook comes to the sideline and he tells Kennedy Polamalu, his position coach, he tells Rick Dennison, the offensive line coach, what's working, and they adjust the game plan to fit what Cook sees. And obviously, it worked on Sunday against the Packers. So kudos to Mike Zimmer. That was a game the Vikings desperately needed in a very, very bad season.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.